I think I'm bad at book hauls, or otherwise book hauls are just it's hard to come up with things to say about books you haven't read, but oh well. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a book haul for you guys because I haven't done one since I believe October of 2020, and since then I have acquired a lot of books and I want to share them with you. Some of them I have read, some of them I haven't read, some I have acquired because I wanted physical copies after having read them on audio. So without further ado, let's get into my giant book haul. So these are kind of in no particular order, they're just loosely in the order that I got them. So starting off, I got McGlue by Ottessa Moshfegh. So I have been obsessed with Ottessa Moshfegh for a while now, and I wanted to give this one a try. This is a novella by her, and I know pretty much nothing about it other than I'm trying to collect all of her books, and this happens to be a pretty small one, so hopefully it'll be a quick read. I'm planning on reading this with a friend of mine, doing a buddy read soon, so I am very excited to get to this, but the cover is also very interesting, and it really does fit in with her other books. I really like how the aesthetic of all her books kind of work together. Speaking of her other books, I also picked up My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which has just a glorious cover. This I've already read, but I did not have a physical copy, and like I said, in an attempt to collect all of her books, I needed to have a physical copy of this one, and I loved it when I read it, so why not? I also made a trip to a used bookstore recently. I picked up 2 books. One of them I've read, but one of them I haven't read, and that is The Glass Castle and Half-Broke Horses by Jeanette Walls. So I read The Glass Castle years ago, and it's one of my favorite books at this point, but I just never had a physical copy, so I'm really happy to have that now. This is a memoir, and then this is another one of her books that I just never have gotten around to, but my mom did, and she said it was amazing. So I got these both for like $3 each, and I'm excited to give this one a read as well. Speaking of memoirs, wow, what a great segue. I also got Idiot by Laura Clary. She is an influencer that I have been watching for a few years now, and her life story is just very interesting. I'm interested to see if I like her writing style because I know a lot of celebrity memoirs can be kind of iffy on the writing, so I'm hoping that I really enjoy this, and I'm excited to give it a read. Next up, I have The Collector by John Foyles, not sure. So this is part of the Vintage Classics collection, and I don't know much about it. Honestly, I was drawn to it because the concept sounded really interesting, and it kind of reminded me of Silence of the Lambs a little bit. The cover, the moth, all of that. I don't think it's necessarily horror, but I do think that it has similar vibes in terms of a crazy person stealing women. So that's going to be interesting. Next up, I have a random bookshop find, and it is Red Clocks by Lenny Zumas. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the cover drew me in immediately. Apparently, it's set in a dystopian kind of America where abortion is completely illegal, and it sounds really scary, and it sounds kind of similar to The Handmaid's Tale, which I really enjoyed and really scared me, so this sounded really interesting, and like I said, the cover just totally pulled me in, so I had to get it. Next up, I have yet another random bookshop find, and that is Of Vengeance by J.D. Curtness, and this is apparently just about a woman who is on a plot of revenge. And she just takes people out, and it sounds kind of similar to Promising Young Woman, which is a movie that I'm obsessed with, and my boyfriend just ended up getting this for me. I just picked it out, and it looks really interesting, and it has a really neat cover, so I'm excited to give this one a read. Next, I have 7 Kinds of People You Find in Bookshops by Sean Bythell. I have seen a couple of books by him around. This one just sounded like a lot of fun. So basically, it is a kind of guide to different people in bookshops and what the author has observed owning a used bookshop. So it sounds really cute and fun, and just like a little fun bookshop read. Next up, I have a whole bunch of translated literature. I've been really into translated literature, so here are a few that I have picked up. I think in January I picked these up, and they are Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is just apparently a few short stories that relate to the world, so I'm excited to give this one a read. This is Japanese translated, and I gave the other one 5 out of 5, so I'm really hoping that I love this one. For Christmas, my best friend picked up Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez for me. This is the illustrated edition by Luisa Rivera, and it is absolutely stunning. The illustrations are so So pretty. And I am actually partway through this now, and I'm doing a book discussion with her. So of course I will let you know what I think of this when I finish it. I also picked up People in the Room by Nora Lange. This was actually written in the 50s, and all I know about it is it's kind of a woman descending into madness. She sees a few people across the street. She kind of imagines what their lives are like and tries to put herself in their shoes. And it's just really interesting. Then I picked up Long Live the Post Horn by Vigdis Hjorth. All I know about this one is that it's translated and it is a unreliable / unlikable female main character story, which is obviously right up my alley. I'm going to be reading this one soon for a vlog, so stay tuned for that. Next up, I have a few books in a particular category. They are all Wings of Fire books, and I have read most of them at this point, so I'm sure you've probably seen me talk about them at this point, but I will mention them anyway. I got The Lost Continent by Tui T. Sutherland. This follows the Silkwing tribe and is the first book in a new continent. Books 1 through 10 were set in Pyria, and this is set in Pantala, which is across the ocean. So this is the first book in the third arc of the series. And then I also picked up the second book, The Hive Queen, the third book, The Poison Jungle, which was only available in hardcover at this point. And finally, very excited, I got The Dangerous Gift, which is book 14, which was just released. And I actually filmed a little clip of me unboxing it, so I'll put that in now. Okay, I'm actually freaking out because a few days ago I did a webinar with Tui T. Sutherland, who wrote all of the Wings of Fire series. And I got to see her actually talk about the new book that she just released and her writing process, and it was such a cool experience. But as part of that, we got sent book 14, maybe signed, I don't really know. So I finally got the package from Politics and Prose, which was the bookstore that I was doing the event through. And I figured we should open it together because why not? I'm literally freaking out. So I've already opened this part, but I haven't opened it yet. So let's do it together. Okay. Ooh, let's unwrap this. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. Whoa, okay. What is this? It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. I got a signed little book plate signed by her. Oh my goodness. And the cover is so pretty. I'm so excited to read this. I've been waiting for literally only a few days, but I'm still freaking out because book 13 ruined my life, so I need to start this immediately. And it also looks like they sent me little trading cards, which is just so cute with all the different tribes. They're so adorable. Rain wings. This is my favorite. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Okay, I grouped these ones together because they were all just Barnes & Noble hauls that I got on the same day. And they are The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones that finally came out in paperback. I've had my eye on this for a while, but I wanted to wait till it was in paperback. So I ended up picking this one up, especially because Kat from Paperback Dreams is constantly talking about how great it is. So I'm excited to give this a read. This looks like some suspense, thriller, horror kind of read, and I'm into that. I also picked up The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. This cover is really, really fun. This story follows a man who writes his whole life story down and leaves it in a coffee shop, and apparently the next person picks it up and reads it and writes theirs and leaves it in a different spot, and it's kind of a chain of events of how everyone writes their life story down and leaves it for the next person to read. So it sounds really cute and fun and kind of like a light, fluffy read, which I definitely need because I always read such dark stuff, so that will be fun. And then I also got Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, which I've had my eye on for, again, a long time, but I finally picked it up. This book is about a set of twins who spontaneously combust when they get angry, so that sounds like a really fun time. Next up, I have a book that I actually just got today, and it is Indelicacy by Amina Kane, and this cover is just everything. I actually am halfway through this on audio, but I'm loving it so much that I wanted to have a physical copy. So I went to my favorite bookshop today and I picked it up, and it's basically about a woman who cleaned a museum for a lot of her life, and she ends up marrying a rich man. So now she's trying to wrestle with feelings of superiority, and also like, what does she do with herself now that she just doesn't have to work? It's a really interesting look at wealth and privilege and identity, and where you fit in the world. And it's just really, really interesting so far. I'll let you know what I think of it when I finish it, but I definitely needed to have a copy because I sense it's going to be either a 4 or a 5 star. And then finally, I have a big stack of more translated literature. I should have put those together, but oh well. I got Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and I'm super, super excited to read this. I've heard a lot of great things about it. Apparently this is very strange and thought-provoking, and I've been on a Japanese translated literature kick. I really like the way that that language translates to English. I think it's always really beautiful and interesting and creates some really different images, so I'm excited to read this one. Speaking of Japanese translated, I also picked up The Guest Cat by Takeshi Hirade? I'm not sure, but the cover is really cute. It basically just follows a cat around, and it sounds really, really cute. I love also how Asian translated, especially fiction, has a lot of really like cute and funny and interesting concepts that I don't typically find with just regular English literature. Next up, I have a book that I've had my eye on for a while, and I just got it in the mail, and that is Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sokegawa. I've heard Ariel Bissett talk about this one. I don't think she's read it, but she's talked about it many times, and I've seen it in her videos. And the cover is really, really cute, and it is basically just about a restaurant. And it sounds a lot like Before the Coffee Gets Cold, so I'm looking forward to reading it. So now on to some Korean translated literature. I got The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I've heard mixed things about this. Everyone says that it's really out there and strange, but I'm here for it, so hopefully I enjoy this one. The cover is really, really interesting. And I've been wanting to get into Han Kang, so I'm gonna read that one soon too for a vlog. Stay tuned for that. Then I got Kim Ji-young, born 1982. This finally came out in paperback, so I had to get it because I've been waiting for it for a while. And this is by Cho Nam-ju. And what I know about this one is that it's basically about a woman who doesn't really know her place in the world and trying to figure out her place. And apparently it's also kind of a blend of fiction and nonfiction. Like, it's a fiction book, but there are like citations at the bottom of the page for real things that kind of back up what's being said about the character. So that's really intriguing. I've never read a fiction book like that. So I think this is going to be kind of a unique reading experience. And then because Kat from Paperback Dreams talked about it, I got The Hole by I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but this is also a Korean translated, I believe, and it's a horror novel, and the cover is super fascinating. Say it with me. I'm really excited to read this. Then I picked up The Blue Fox by Sejan. This was translated from Icelandic, and I'm really interested in Icelandic culture. I think it's a beautiful place, and I really love Of Monsters and Men, which they're from Iceland, so this cover is great, and I'm really interested to see if I like Icelandic literature as much as I like the music. And then this was totally a random find at the bookshop. This is Harmata. I do not want to butcher the pronunciation of the name, but this is translated as well, and it's basically following a man who comes from basically nowhere. He comes from the earth and just follows his journey through life. So that should be really interesting to read. Finally, I got another book by Ariana Harwicks, and I am currently obsessed with her. I read Die My Love a few days ago. I finished it, and I immediately ordered Feeble-Minded. So I don't know a ton about this, but I know that it's kind of the relationship between a mother and daughter, which will be a lot different than Die My Love, which was a husband and wife relationship. So the cover is amazing. I know I say that about most of these, but let's be honest, a lot of them are cover buys. So between her writing style and the translation, it's a very unique writing style. So I'm super excited to get to this one. So those were the many books that I have acquired since October of 2020. A lot of the books that I mentioned I will be reading soon for various reading vlogs, so stay tuned for those. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.